Today's talk is mostly technical. I'm going to actually show you the tools in practice. I want to couch it in a little bit of theory. So I'll show you how generative AI is being used today to create digital content. That's the low-hanging fruit. That's how most people experience generative AI today. They want all kinds of digital documents to be created. They want images, text, you name it. This generative suite of tools can now create just about anything. And so each day there's new tools being created. It's moving very quickly. I'll focus my time on these other three issues, though. That's improving our learning personally, that's helping students improve their learning, and your productivity, both as a teacher and in other contexts. And then, of course, to help us think about how we create new innovations using these tools. So I'll use Bloom's taxonomy to give my talk today. And I think the biggest fear that we probably all have is that students are skipping from the remembering, understanding, up to the creating process using tools such as ChatGPT. And the point of my talk today is to show you that ChatGPT can be used at every level. So you know with your classes that you teach where you're meeting your students. Are they working through the first parts of understanding new and database design? Okay, we need to work with them on remembering and understanding, and then move their way up as they navigate their major. So I've categorized the tools that way, and I'm starting off with some of the easier use cases of ChatGPT at those first two levels, and then I'll work my way up. So it'll go from simple to what I hope to show you are some very complex, some very advanced ways to use generative AI today. This is the first experience that most people are having with generative AI. This is a tool called Adobe Firefly. It helps you create all kinds of images. That's Adobe's sweet spot. So if you type in something you want to see created, Adobe Firefly can make it. I point this out to you because this is where generative AI is going. This system, this tool that Adobe has created is very different than if you've used ChatGPT, which is a single line input of text. This system is more advanced in that. Let's click on generate and just try something out here. Let's have a horned frog studying for class and click generate. And I just want to show you the tool more so than talk about image creation, because of course this is fairly easy to do. You just type in the text, but look at what Adobe offers you as the user. On the right side, they offer you the ability to customize the creativity. So along the right side, you can choose the effects that you want. If you want movement, themes, you can have this layered paper effect. It can be hyper realistic. It can look more like a painting, less like a photo. You can change from styles easily and just click these drop downs. And the important part to keep in mind here is you're not having to think of these things each time you want to create something new. You're just selecting from predetermined options. So this is where generative AI is going. All of the tools you'll be using will be in some form like this, and they'll largely be built into the software that you're using. So if it's Microsoft Excel, it'll soon just be off to the side. You'll just open up a window that looks just like this. So this is where everything is headed. This is just one of the first companies to get there. So what I hope to show you today is beyond image creation, that you could actually build this tool. You could build Adobe Firefly. So by the end of the presentation, I'll show you that you can build a version of Adobe Firefly for your use case, which is a really powerful application of generative AI, that you can set the constraints, you can set the issues that you want to specify. It's the advanced part for sure. I'd have to sit with you and show you how it's done, and I'll show you the preview of it, but it's possible, and then that's where things are headed. So if this isn't good enough for you, you can make it whatever you want it to be. Okay, so let me jump over to ChatGPT. If you don't have an account, of course, just search for ChatGPT. You'll be taken to OpenAI. That's the name of the parent company that owns ChatGPT, who's developing it. You'll get taken to a page like this to sign up. So when you sign in for the first time, you'll see this GPT-4 is grayed out and you can't select it. So basically, the free version is this 3.5, and that just means that's the version that they've created. They've created 4. They're working on 4.5 now, and they'll release that probably sometime in the next year. So I'll start off with the free side of it. And what I'm going to do is put this side by side with the prompts that I've shown you, so we can work through this rather quickly. I'm going to go fast on purpose because I want to get to the more complicated parts of this. So I'll stay on 3.5 right now and just take my prompt that I've written here And let's start off with remembering understanding and the Bloom's taxonomy, okay? We're just asking ChatGPT I'm struggling with an important concept in my field. And this could be something personally that you're just trying to understand, not necessarily for a student, okay? So we ask it, it's impressive. We're asking it here to explain something at different levels of complexity. Start off with something simple, and then move up. Now, there's been other demonstrations of the same thing. Explain it to me at a first grade level, at a college level. You've seen variations of this before. It does a very good job of explaining topics at different levels. Okay, so this is some of the straightforward use cases. The next prompt I have, it says, help me understand the difference between profits and retained earnings. Now, I would get to this question or to this statement because I've read, and as a student, I understand kind of where I'm at, right? When I'm reading through the response that ChatGPT gives to me with that simple question, I can look through the words and see these words are not familiar to me. I don't understand what these concepts are. So the best thing to do is check for differences. That's what we do when we develop theory, right? We're trying to categorize the first concepts of different things that we experience. Okay, so now I'm asking for a difference. This is a great, if you saw a student type this into ChatGPT, you'd be impressed, right? They want to see the difference, understand the difference between concepts and the categorization of those concepts. All right, so what's the difference between profits and retained earnings? How does it do? It does a fantastic job. As we know, profits are listed on the income statement. Great. It goes through and says the profits are a measure of the company's profitability, financial performance over a specific time frame. That's an important point. Okay, well then what's retained earnings? Oh, that shows up on the balance sheet. Fantastic. These are complex issues that it handles in a matter of a fraction of a second. And help our students understand, this is an important prompt you'd want to give to say, what's the difference between two concepts? Okay, moving on. How do we get our students engaged with this technology? Well, as we know from all different learning theories, if you personalize the learning experience, you get much better outcomes, right? If you have a difficult concept, you should be asking to have that concept explained in terms that you know, things that you like, because when you experience the new content, you'll categorize that new content with something that you already have structured in your mind. I asked here, explain the concept of a database management system using golf analogies, right? Golf is something I know and love, so wouldn't it make sense to try and put something that's foreign and different in the context of something that I already know? And so I'm forcing it to stretch here a little bit, right? Golf, it's not so obviously related to databases. I mean, what's the connection? Here it has the golf course as data, the golf clubs as queries. Okay, we take out different clubs for different kinds of searches. That makes sense that there's different types of searches we do, and these will speed up the search if I use a different club. It's a more effective approach. Scorecard is the data entry. The caddy in golf is the database management system for your game. The caddy provides guidance and carries the clubs and so on. And the golf tournament is the transactions that happen, the rows that are going to end up in the database. Okay. Fantastic way to associate something new with something old, right? So again, we're still in the remembering, understanding phase of the Bloom's taxonomy. Occasionally, you'll see it stretched in an area, but you should just keep asking. And that's an important point, an important lesson to teach your students too. Tell them to keep trying. The first time at it, it might be a little off. There's no cost in hitting enter again and putting the prompt in and say, try again. So why not? Just say, try again, see what the new analogy is, and go from there. All right, so analogies we know are a powerful way for us to help students learn any kind of topic. In a class where we're explaining an analogy, we usually we use analogies that are relevant to us as teachers. You should be using analogies that are relevant to every single student sitting in their seat, right? Because those analogies are personal to them. There's probably 3 people in the room that care about golf the way that I do. Let's write a short story about database management systems. Okay. And even more so, to connect to something relevant to me, I'll tell it the names of the characters who are people that I know, right? Because when I hear the story told and the characters of people that I personally have interest in, it's going to be meaningful to me, or much more meaningful to me than I just say, give me some random characters. So a good thing you should be teaching yourself with using the system or to your students is personalize. Get that engagement up in your classroom by telling students to think of personal terms as they type in these searches. So it says, once upon a time in a bustling city of Dataville, there were 3 friends, myself, Austin, and Katie, and they were running their own businesses, and it gives a whole story. So what's the concept there, the theory there? Well, we learn much more by way of story than in almost any other technique. There's another concept in psychology called a memory palace. The people that do extremely well in remembering like digits of pi out to 200, 500 character or digits, they use what's called a memory palace to do that. And it's never really been that personal experience unless you really work at it. Try and think of how you can personalize something new again. So memory palace, this time I asked a little bit different prompt here. I said, what are the steps of creating a memory palace? Instead of just trying to create one, and first tell me what they are, and I'll interact a little bit with the response. So it says, if you want to create a memory palace, a way to remember a concept, first start off with a familiar place. So the technique that people actually use when they're remembering digits of pi is they actually walk through in their mind an environment, and they think of something being tall, and they associate numbers with the width and height and so on. And so they use these techniques to recall the information later. So how do you do it? Okay, it tells you exactly how to do it. That's how I create the memory palace. Now I say, okay, help me create one of my own. And I want to remember the concept of a marketing mix, right? I've just learned about the marketing mix, and I want it to incorporate aspects of my favorite place, which is I'll just stick with golf. And I describe the golf course a little bit to the system so it can give back to me a bit of personalized, here's some ways to think about that memory palace that's personal to you. So I'm still in the free version here. You can do all of this with the system. If you just sign up, you're in, and you can use these prompts, no problem. I'll keep going on to different techniques here. We often use in creativity class the concept of a mind map, which is just drawing out you probably all know the central theme, and then letting your brain freely associate with all the terms that are central to that word. So you can do a similar thing with just a prompt saying, just tell me, you're actually turning what makes ChatGPT work against itself, which is it's a large language model. It has trillions of words and different combinations of words in its database and how it works. So you just say, tell me the 15 words or concepts that are most associated with this term that I'm not really familiar with yet. And it's going to give back to you the mind map. It's going to give back to you the associations that you should be having, because these are the most common words that are tightly connected. The whole entire ChatGPT system works on this idea of being able to predict the next word that is given, because it has such a deep repository of language to pull from. So if you're helping students learn something new, or you're challenging yourself, take out a sheet of paper, draw the central word, do your own mind map, and then compare it against what you're seeing here. And if there are words missing on your mind map that are showing up on this list, you have identified the whole in your understanding of a particular topic. If there's no words there, there's no understanding there. And so a mind map is a really important way, actually, I think, to start a class each semester. Ask your students on the first day to turn out a white sheet of paper and write a mind map for your concept. And if there's 5 words on the paper, you pretty well know that it's going to be a long semester. Right? There's no content there. They have no words to grasp what profit is or employee motivation is. Okay. So in this next prompt, what I'll do is I'll switch gears. I'll move on to a little bit more advanced parts. I'll start a new chat and move over to ChatGPT 4. And I am going to ask it to use a plugin. So this is a new part. This is a really fantastic way of using generative AI. They've created a developer community around these plugins. So you can see these listed here and kind of get the basic idea of what they would do. That if I can attach ChatGPT to Wikipedia, to a stories app, the one I'm going to use here is called Diagrams. And I'll ask it for that same thing. There's a mind map with the word employee motivation as the keyword. And I shouldn't have put that plugin part here. See what it does here. I meant to leave that off. But it's working with a connection to another piece of software. So this company here, I don't even know the name. I guess the company's probably called Diagrams or something like that. It seems to me that it's an open source software, the way that it works. And hopefully it'll kick me back a link here shortly. But it's made more powerful because these developers are connecting to ChatGPT. So here it gives me a mind map. It's free to use this software, and you can change words around, move them around, and do whatever you like with that tool. So plugins are a key way to use, and This is the $20 a month version. This is the stuff that you get when you start paying for the service, but plugins can be used for anything. I'm just showing you one quick example here. So plugins for everything. The plugin library for ChatGPT will be incredible. It's already incredible. If you scroll down a bit, you can see Expedia. I need a flight from here to Paris sometime in the next 3 months. Spits back the Expedia results. You can imagine interacting with any software using natural language, how much better the experience will be than clicking through their UI or their UX. It's layered on top of every single app you can imagine, this natural language interaction with the software. People often say ChatGPT is bad at math. They have a plugin to Wolfram Alpha, which is like the best math calculator ever invented. And it's a one-click button to have connection for mathematics, right? So incredible, the plugin library. So let me try one demo for my phone. This is a new one. See if this works. Give me a list of 5 ways to keep employees motivated.
Employee motivation is a complex area that has been studied from multiple perspectives, including psychological theories such as Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Hertzberg's two-factor theory.
Right. As a much better Siri, right? Can you give me that list in Spanish?
Here are 5 ways to keep employees motivated
in English. Academic. It does work. You can switch between English, Spanish, French. If you're teaching anything international, you can have a conversation with the phone and just say, let's finish this conversation in Spanish. And then it goes back and forth with you in another language. And it picks up right where you left off. So if you're trying to dive into some new concept, if your language is not English, you can switch over to the other language, talk about personalization, just switch right over to the other language that you want it to be in. Yes. So keep moving down my list here, move up the Bloom's taxonomy. I have asked, this is more of a productivity one, but students can use this as well. It does much better with ChatGPT 4 to ask for multiple choice questions for remembering, understanding. We'll move up soon. Just give me 10 multiple choice questions, 2 essay questions about a topic of consumer behavior. Of course, it does that, no problem. It gives you the answers back. It answers the essay questions that it wrote. Questions are fantastic. In my experience, they're way better than the test bank you would see in a McGraw-Hill test book. They exceed the quality of those questions by a wide margin. It's unbelievable. And so you can use this for multiple choice, but of course we know we want to push students beyond multiple choice in the classroom. I think we'll have to do a lot more handwriting assignments in the classroom. We'll have to change the way we teach because this is here. They'll ask the question. If they have another computer up, they can easily cheat. So there are obvious concerns about cheating here. But certainly if you want to do something in class or in person, you can have it generate the questions for you, and they are usually fantastic. And so that completes the section on remembering, understanding. Let's move up a little bit more. One interesting way that I've used ChatGPT recently was to, again, ask it to do a bit of thinking on its own first. I said, what are some ways that a faculty member could analyze to the topic of a teaching effectiveness committee, could analyze the transcript of a class that they recorded to look for areas of improvement? Usually we have a person come in and watch our teaching and they say, yeah, this is good, try this, try this. There could be ways to measure our teaching that go beyond what we currently do. A more nuanced look at the transcript. So if there's parts of your class where there's going to be a lot of you speaking and you have a nice section of transcript, I would encourage you to try and get that transcript. One way to do it is to pull it straight from Zoom. Zoom actually auto produces the transcript now. So when you record your class in Zoom, it shows you the transcript. You can just copy and paste it. Just be aware, as I did, I put it in there and it says I use the word like all the time, and it drives me crazy. And of course, when I say it, now I'm going to only think about that as I'm doing the rest of this demo. But you can imagine a spreadsheet that showed across the columns all of the classes that you teach. And on the first column, you'd have all the filler words that you use. And if you really pushed yourself on your craft of teaching, you'd see whether or not you actually go up or down on all of your use of filler words throughout the semester. I don't know. I've never done that before. But that's a next level type of analysis of your teaching than just saying, good job, you did great, you covered all these topics, let's put some data and rigorous analysis to the teaching process. What we say matters, how we say it matters. And so I asked ChatGPT, what could you do with my transcript? What are the ways that you could study my teaching? It could do all of these things, the thematic coding, keyword frequency, turn taking, question response patterns. If you had people going back and forth, if you do research in this area, you know well what it means to do it, to be a qualitative researcher, sentiment analysis. So if you click on the GPT-4 part, you can change to this. It's just mind-blowing, the advanced data analysis section. You can give it files. So I go here, I say, I think I must have taken it out. I just wanted to show you the analysis part. I think I had my transcripts and I was going to put it in there for you, but you can at least see an example of the output. So I had to do an analysis of what were my filler words, and cringe. So like, actually kind of, I use kind of way too much. And I wanted to calculate it as a percentage of all the words spoken. So to get some context, not so bad, but I can tell you looking at it, as you're reading the transcript, it hurts. And sometimes I use the word like correctly. I'm showing an example. But things such as polarity, subjectivity, have we ever looked at our transcripts of what we say for subjectivity or polarity? I don't even know what it is. And so could we do a better job of measuring what we do? Yeah, we could do a lot better. I'll just give you a heads up. When you do that, it wakes you up. It makes you think. It sometimes hurts a little bit. You think back at what you said and go, oh, I did not want to say that. But that's what growth is. It's having an uncomfortable moment of looking at something and saying, I shouldn't have said it like that, or I shouldn't have tried that approach. So I hope that you get those kinds of experiences from using tools like this. And of course, the transcript part, that's all just done from Zoom. Okay, one other cool way I had students use a transcript is I had them, we often watch a Shark Tank clip to talk about different topics in venture investing and ideation and so on. So I had it grab a transcript from the video and tried something interesting and unique from this. So all I did was give it the link. I just grabbed this link and I used a plugin to do this, admittedly is the paid version, but there was one option for a plugin it's called Vox Scripts, and I can give it that URL and it will go and generate the script for me. And so it finds the scripts. And what I did in that class session was I had students read the script. So they took on a role in class. It felt more, this is what would happen as a table read for people that would be, in a show, in a TV show or something. They just read the script. And the theory here is that if you have students, whether it's writing or orally, say what experts say, they begin to feel and hear and understand in the way that experts understand the topic. They think of themselves. I had students leave the class, I'm a billionaire, walking out there, Kevin O'Leary. Yeah, you're a billionaire. They put themselves in the role and the engagement is way up. As to watch a video, that's interesting. You get one more layer of realism. You're watching a real pitch. This was the Doorbot pitch. The company later became Ring, which sold to Amazon for $1 billion. They pitched on Shark Tank and they were told no. So this is the pitch of Ring on Shark Tank, where the investors passed on the deal. So that was a really interesting class that day. Okay, so there's the transcript part. Give me a transcript of the video. Let's dive into it. Let's analyze it. Let's put ourselves in the role. Let's speak as if we are an investor. That's going way past remembering and understanding and more towards evaluation and analysis and application of the concepts. So I would call that the intermediate use of ChatGPT, like that section. Okay, let's go one level up, the advanced section. What could you do if you wanted to push yourself one step further? Now, this is, I wouldn't say perfect by any means, but I'm in the data analysis section again. So this is a special part of ChatGPT where I'm asking for more here. I'm pasting in this prompt. You can see it on your document that says, I want to design an experiment. Let's go further, right? Let's push. I want to try something new in my teaching. I want to try anything new in your life. And you're just, I think oftentimes the hesitation that people have with experimentation or pushing the scientific method is they don't know how to do the experiment. They're not sure what should be the treatment or control, and how would I even analyze the data. So I think it's important to show students a really fast experiment with fake data, just as a way of showing them this is how it could be done. You see the process from beginning to end, that you have a treatment and a control, you're looking for some outcome variable to change, and you're going to measure the effect of that change, see if it's meaningful. You can talk about statistical significance, you can get into the details. And what I did here is I actually asked for an Excel file. So the last part of it says, perform the analysis with fake data. Now, there is a researcher in the hot seat right now for using fake data to publish. Definitely, obviously, like ethical boundaries here. You never want to ask for fake data for the purpose of sharing that as real data. You can have a back and forth with ChatGPT. Well, how would I increase the rigor of this technique? What would be a better way to select the sample? You just need a starting point. You need it to tell you what would the objective be, the participants, the control group, the treatment, the measures, pre and post. What are you trying to go for? So here I asked for a teaching technique where I'm trying, the old way was my control, the way I used to teach money and banking. Now I'm trying something new as the treatments. And I asked it to actually produce an Excel file, and it's showing me the Python code it used to create the Excel files. So if you were good with code, you could take this, you could save it to your computer, you could run it in a system called VS Code, just a place to run code, and you could rerun it or save it on your own machine. But of course, it does it here. It actually runs. It's showing you what analysis it used. It's using ANOVA. It's creating the data frame. It pumps out the file, and I can look at the Excel file as the output. So this is the output. It's going to show, here's the control group. It gave me scores across 3 different measures. I think it even explains a little bit about what kind of quiz you would give, the engagement you got from that new technique. Oh, this is the old control group, the one you used to use, received understanding of the topic. Okay, here's the treatment. I'm trying something new. Here's 30 scores across the treatment. And it shows me the statistical test. It measured the t-test here in this case for all 3 outcome variables to see, was there a significant difference? I've run the Excel formulas to make sure the p-values are right. They do it correctly. If you ask, why did you run a t-test and not some other test, it'll tell you why. What happens if the data is not normally distributed? It tells you it'll run this test instead. Just absolutely incredible. There's a great book called Experimentation Works. It's meant for organizations like ours to push us all to think about ways we experiment and to measure what we're doing. And if we thought of our culture as a school or as a university as maybe we should document more of the things that we do, the experiments that we're running, and actually measure them, look at the effects. I know it's a long shot. It's a cultural change. It's a big one, but that's what the book talks about happens every day in technology companies. That makes sense. They test a lot. They have variations of their software they test, but in teaching, we have a semester, we have this great semester ends, starts again. We have control groups because we have one section here, we have another section, we're teaching the same class. There's a lot there where it could help us design better experiments for our teaching or whatever it might be. Of course, for research as well. Just thinking through the kinds of variables you'd want to study and the techniques you'd use. Okay, this is coming to the Microsoft Office suite, and I'm going to show you what currently exists today. So I'm in Google Sheets here. So this is odd because I'm using a Google product to run a Microsoft formula, but again, I'm in the next section up, the Bloom's taxonomy. We're moving up the triangle here. So what I'm asking ChatGPT to do here is take my Excel file, right? And I'm going to run a formula that asks ChatGPT. It sends my prompt off to ChatGPT, and then they send it back to me in Google Sheets. And the way I do that is by typing in the formula equals GPT, and then I can ask the prompt. Now, you might wonder, like, well, what's the difference? The difference is what you can do when you're in an Excel or Sheets environment. You can copy and paste. If you know about using Excel or Google Sheets, the power comes in being able to copy and paste a formula down. And so here's what I did for this one. I said, GPT list, name 30 counties in the state of Texas. So what did it do here? It sent off this request to GPT, and then GPT sent it back to me, and then put it structured in my Google Sheet. So it listed the 30 counties in the state of Texas. Okay, next question. It can do dynamic cell references. I say GPT, this is a different formula. You can see I don't need a list here. I want it to give me the last known population statistic of that county. This is a dynamic formula. I'm referencing the other cell, okay, of that county, Texas. So you can imagine A2 is like saying, give me the last known population statistic of Harris County, Texas. Okay. The response should only be a number. You see that it doesn't listen to all my instructions. Enter. Imagine doing this for research, right? So I say, tell me the most memorable thing about Harris County, Texas. The response should be as short as possible. You can imagine in my entrepreneurship class, I'm teaching them about research, about doing market research, understanding their environment. And again, normally the spreadsheet looks like this, right? The first one in, and then I want to copy the formula down so you can see it in action. It's sending these off, sending them back. And it's doing a lot of them all at once. So how is it different? I hope you are like getting it. I'm not sending one response, one prompt, waiting, prompt, wait, prompt, wait. I'm sending hundreds of them at the same time, and I'm just changing one variable along the way. And that's way more powerful than the interface that ChatGPT gives you. And this is coming for Excel. So like what I just did will, in 6 months, a year, you'll be able to type in a formula in Excel that equals GPT and make this request. The way this works right here is I'm using what's called an API key, right? I took this key that I put in $25 for. So I put, beyond my $20 a month, I gave ChatGPT $20 and I said, give me back a key. I copy and paste this key into Google Sheets. And I do that through this extensions here. So I'm just setting the API key through this extension. So they have this extension. It's an add-on feature for Google Sheets that you can have this connectivity to the software via API. So APIs you can think of as tunnels between services, right? We need to build a tunnel that lets one company speak to another one. And we're going to send, like we send water back and forth, we're going to send data back and forth. So they charge you when you send the data this way, and then they charge you when it comes back. But okay, one step further. I told you that you could do Adobe Firefly. You could create that, right? You could create a software that allowed you the full functionality because of this. You have to remember that when ChatGPT was first created, it was created only for developers. So you and I didn't have a place to go to interact with their UI. Like we couldn't go to this. It didn't exist. In fact, they kind of hacked it together. Like it's this most simple software you could imagine, right? Tools like this, it's called Glide Apps. And what they help you do is quickly get together, like create software that you can customize and that you can have user authentication. You can make sure, someone signs in, signs out, it has a database, and you're building your own custom software. This is an app I created for a demo today. So this is an app, somewhat hypothetical, but also working to help you write better feedback to your students. And it could be used for emails or anything else, but this is one that I created. And because I have some experience with the software and how to build it, the development time for me was maybe 5 hours, 10 hours of just hardcore at it. But I have years of training of like knowing how these things are put together, so keep that in mind. Just going to put in a fake name, Emma. Do you want to use the student's name in the feedback? I hope that as you're interacting with this, you can see how this is like Adobe Firefly, right? You can see that the way you asked Adobe for an image, but you want the image to be more of a painting and less of a picture. So you get to decide what you want the prompt to be here. Your feedback, you want to tell the students, hey, you just need more clarity, right? Whatever your submission was, just needed more clarity. Maybe you need to write some specific feedback to the student, like try again. Again, this is a little bit of our own bias in how we get feedback. Sometimes maybe we're too difficult with students or too easy on them. I found one thing that really has helped me is I'm normally too easy on my feedback, and it helps me to write really harshly in here. So I say, that's the worst submission I've ever seen. So what you could do is write just exactly what you're thinking, right? If you need to tell ChatGPT other instructions like, hey, consider this, consider that, you could type that in there. The tone, you want it to be professional, more informal, because, hey, you have this sense of camaraderie with your students, so you want it to be more informal, whatever. You could switch that if you wanted to. You could say, I want the feedback to be short, long, whatever. Again, this is just like editing the image. I want the image to be wider, longer, different styles. I want to call that student's work a submission, right? Because maybe that's the word that they're expecting to hear. I hit submit. So this is the AI generated feedback based on my surgeon-like manipulation of the different characteristics. Okay. And to me, this is where things get interesting with AI, with generative AI, is could you build Adobe Firefly, a tool that's hyper specific to your needs, right? And so what is happening here? Same way I just showed you with Google Sheets, right? Same exact concept. This service uses an integration to connect to ChatGPT. And they do it all through that same key. So what's happening here? I'm putting together a prompt for you, just to give you a sense of what's happening behind the scenes. So I wrote an instruction, right? The feedback you write should be C. What is C? C is whatever you said it should be. That's all a variable. That's stuff that you selected, and everyone else selected each time they use the app. So the app experience can be extremely customized to your needs. And so I hope that this demonstration showed that you can start simple with it, ask for simple prompts, you can copy these, adjust them to your needs. In fact, on the document I gave you, I just underlined the words that you would change. So I tried to make it as easy as possible for you to get some experience that if I was using these prompts, I would just change the words that are underlined to my use case. This last part on brainstorming, actually, I forgot to mention it. And I just want to point out, it's one other way to use ChatGPT. I'll finish on this. You can, depending on how you write your prompt, I just showed you a really advanced way to like build software and use that to do complicated things. You can just in your prompt say the software. Like in my prompt here, I'm saying, okay, here's what we should do. We'll use the DaVinci creativity. DaVinci used to use this technique where he would list out the parameters of a face, right? Then I have a quick diagram I'll just show you, like the head, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and he would list variations on those categories. And his creativity technique was largely just recombinations of the different parameters. So he would just select one of the styles of head, of eyes, and nose, and then create images from those selections. You can create that, and I have it in your prompt there, that for anything. Ask it for the categories, ask it for the variations, and then you have software that you're going back and forth with to create something different. Now, is it new? We could debate. If this was a theory class, we would debate for days about, could you ever produce anything new, truly new, from a large language model that only knows us and everything we've ever said, and it's just combinations of everything we've ever said? Is it ever really truly new? I don't know, but in my sense, just the recombinations of things are enough to keep us interested in building creative things. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. I love your feedback. I have a link up here just to, if you have the chance to just give me some feedback or just tell me at some point, that would be really helpful. Thank you.